In this week's episode of Bench Talk, the Takata airbag scandal is back in the news.
And once again, local councils are ripping you off.
And Jordo rubs one out over his favourite Swedish car maker.
What's a bench talk without some RX8 Salt? And I mean, this is salt into the wound hard. So much cringe, please delete this video. Learn about the engine and actually get some first-hand experience with it, then make a new one.
Guy makes a good point because I've been pricing up RX8s, like I've been checking out car sales weekly.
He says learn about the engine. Wasn't Broomy in the video looking at the Renesas motor, comparing it to the older engine, saying these are the drawbacks with it? That's the whole point.
Dude, I've got to experience the power, of the Renesas engine firsthand. It's not a bad idea because I can get into one for about $3.50.
The Renesas engine is not bad, it is misunderstood. No one's misunderstanding it, mate. People like you sharting on its name doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, it does. Have you checked out the resale prices of these things? $60,000 car, and seriously, you can buy one for like $5 grand.
Wanker much? Hates RX8s so much he thinks an LS will make it better.
Yeah, it will.
Clueless beyond my mind's limits. Mazda needs to experiment beyond normal. What makes them not just another effing car? The thought don't change is the same as stop thinking. Is this guy Yoda? Did that make any sense?
I'm still trying to remember what you just said because I'm
maybe if I read
say it backwards, it might make more sense.
Thinking stop is same, that is change don't actually doesn't make any less sense. So
don't enough. Now, Jordan, I notice you got a new T-shirt on there. We have sold a ton of stickers of these, and a lot of people have asked us to put it on a shirt, so they're available in our shop in a bunch of different colours.
For once, different colours.
Get on.
And speaking of BARRA fans, whip this up. Also, this is also available in a T-shirt, but the old running 8s for 2K joke. Well, apparently to some it's not a joke, it's dead serious.
Dead serious.
That's one for the toolbox.
Residents of a southeast suburb are tonight furious. A car left to rust on their street for 4 years still hasn't been towed away.
You see this, the residents of this suburb, they're not too impressed. In fact, they are furious because there's a Mint AU parked down the street and it hasn't moved. And
I had no idea where you were going with that, but I've seen that video.
Unsightly, unroadworthy, and near unimaginable it's been left like this for almost 4 years.
Looks disgusting. I don't know how anybody can let it stay there, really.
What the rule is here, if your car's parked on the street and it's unregistered, in other words your rego's lapsed and you haven't paid it, then you're not allowed to park it on the street. And if it's there for a certain amount of time, and it's not that long, it's weeks or a month or something, whatever it is, you have to take it off the street. And I put a defective, well, not a defective vehicle, but I put a sticker on it. Anyway, you look at this car has not moved in that long. It's rusted, the tyres have been slashed, it's vandal, the windows smashed.
Is this in South Australia?
It may be.
Because they've got pretty lax roadworthy laws over there.
And I'm thinking, why haven't the council moved it? They can't move it because it's
registered.
The owner is still paying registration. How much is the car worth?
Yeah, it's an AU though. Doesn't it make sense that you'd keep registering it?
I know, I mean...
It's the internet's favourite car.
Well, it is an eyesore in the street and it's just terrible look.
Vandals continue to add to the lengthy list of damage. The wheels slashed, the windows smashed, and what isn't already busted has rusted.
But apparently, as usual, the council's just going around the rules and saying apparently he's got a week to get it off the street, or else they're towing it.
Fair enough though. Seriously, can you imagine having that parked next year? I had a car, a Celica, parked. I live near a school, and it was parked out the front. Well, it was back, sort of on the school property, technically. I reckon for 2.5 years. Like 4 flat tyres, weeds are growing around it. And it finally got pushed out onto the street, I reckon, and it had one of those stickers. This will be towed in 7 days. And then I walked past it, and you could tell the person had scraped it off. And I'm like, yeah, that'll do it, buddy, because no one keeps any records. Actually, we're talking about a council here. Probably take them about 6 months to get back. So that thing eventually got towed.
Speaking of councils, here's a good story for once. Good story as in, like, these pricks aren't getting away with this.
3 major Melbourne councils are accused of breaking the law when it comes to parking fine disputes.
Apparently, 3 councils in Melbourne have been done for booking cars illegally. They were outsourcing a company, which apparently they weren't supposed to do. And on top of that, people have got proof about cars being in parking spots for 2 hours. 20 minutes in a 2 hour and getting done. But anyway, 3 cancels. They've got to refund nearly $20 million. That's over 200,000 fines.
Yeah, but
it's ridiculous.
They can only be refunded if the person put in a complaint.
Complaint, exactly.
Which most people wouldn't.
Oh, apparently there are a lot, but still, I know what you mean. Most people just don't fight it.
But where's the recourse in terms of, okay, they have to pay back the money, but where's shouldn't there be some sort of penalties? For just making up this rubbish?
Yeah, but who gets penalised? The ratepayers? Where do the council get their money from? This is the point where most of them shouldn't even exist.
Local councils should be abolished. Full stop. They serve no purpose.
All they do is spend your money.
You see that one in Victoria, Whittlesea Council? It was in the news the other day. They're actually being shut down.
Really? I used to live in that council.
Yeah, they're basically just cleaning house and everyone's getting the house.
Screw you! You're fired!
Hang on, were they responsible for the northern suburb raised intersections? I'm pretty sure they'd be in that council, wouldn't they?
Probably.
They've been an absolute hit, those things.
Some of the dumbest crap you've ever seen on the roads.
In a public place, a brazen act. A woman lingers, then approaches this Tesla car before dragging a key down the side in the Westfield Penrith car park.
Some bloke parks I think he only had the car for a very short amount of time.
3 months.
3 months. Parks it in the car park. Of course, the Tesla's got a lot of cameras on it, and even these days...
It's got a lot of stuff this woman would have no idea what's on.
No idea. It's got like cameras on the side for its LiDAR detection and all that stuff. This woman goes past, keys the entire side of the car. For what? Just jealousy that she sees a nice new car in the car park?
Yeah, but I saw some people saying,
that?
"Oh, it's not jealousy."
What else
would there be? It's a new, and they're like, "Why would you be jealous over a Tesla?" Well, it's not a $500 beta bomb, is it? I think it was like a $90,000 Tesla. If this woman's driving around in a $500 Corolla, yeah.
We won't read the comments for that one. It was that was just instant demonetization, probably banned off YouTube.
I looked at it and I was just scrolling, like going, nah. They're pretty offensive. And so they should be. She's a total piece of shit.
See you next Tuesday.
Police have now charged the woman with malicious damage, and while it's likely she'll receive a fine, the maximum penalty is 5 years behind bars.
Yeah, you should lock her up, I'll tell you.
We've heard about the old Takata. If you're outside of Australia, I don't know if is it a worldwide scandal? It is, isn't it?
Mm.
The Takata airbag recall has been going on for years. I had one replaced in my Ford a few years ago.
Yeah, one of our cars got replaced, a Toyota one.
But car manufacturers are refusing to fix older cars. Instead, owners are being forced to surrender them for a pittance.
They might have some new old stock, obviously, but they're not going to have spare parts for every car ever made. That's understandable. So it's 15 years old, right? And it's in a collision where the airbags go off. It's probably going to be a write-off. They're not going to fix it, and because airbags are expensive to replace. So they've been going around. A lot of the companies have been going around and trying to replace them. There's a few videos of them going, to pretty remote places and replacing these airbags. But obviously they can't replace them all. So they've said, hey, we're going to buy your car back.
Yes.
But obviously, what's a 15-year-old car worth for the most part?
Well, look at this one. It says, my mother's car got taken away by Toyota. They gave her $3,000. The car only had 66,000 kilometres and has been serviced yearly since new. So it was probably a low-kilometre car. It was probably old, but it was probably in fairly good condition. Finding a replacement used car with that much mileage is about $9,000. So that's $6,000 that I have to contribute towards the purchase, as she's on the pension and can't afford it. I mean, that's crap.
But at the same time, you also
what if she was in an accident?
Oh, no, not her fault.
No. Well, yeah, the airbag's gone off.
She's not going to get paid $9,000 for a car that old, even if it's got no kilometres.
No, but at some point, duty of care, they'll go, well, what if the airbag does injure her?
Of course. And then there's some people who've signed a waiver basically saying, you're not liable, and they've removed the airbag, and there's no airbag. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, that means that person has no insurance, because how's the car roadworthy if the owner knowingly knows there's no airbag in the car?
So if a car had an airbag, it's been removed, it would never pass roadworthy. It shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
This is something we keep getting into an argument. I still don't understand this. How people buy these number plates and they're worth money. This one recently sold, is it Victoria? Yep. It was the plate number. It was the number 26. So it's only two digits. So that all the two digits.
It's not that hard to work out, Jordan.
They're meaningless. They're just meaningless to me.
There's no capital gains tax on them. That's why they cost. That's why there's so much money to be made. What's if you bought something? It's like stocks, right? It's all based on nothing, right?
It is. So it's a giant Ponzi scheme, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
So it's a worthless item that goes up in value, effectively.
It's what is it? I got it. You want it. That's what makes it worth something. So if it's worth $500,000, I read one guy, he bought a plate, I think it was for 400 grand, sold it for just near on 800. It was like 780 or something. So he's basically doubled his money in 2 years.
That's ridiculous.
As far as I'm aware, there's no capital gain tax on it. That's clean profit. You're not going to get that on a house. You've got to pay on any sort of asset. You've got to pay capital gains tax on it. That's why a lot of these plates are bought by overseas investors. They're not really worth anything, are they?
Imagine what the fullBOOST number plates are going to be worth. $350.
And they're not for sale. Not for sale.
Now this isn't new. I found this article. It's actually from, I think it's from late last year. But it's about the Dutch government was cutting speed limits to 100 kilometres an hour, down from 130 to 100. I don't think it was on every road, but it was on some of their main freeways, in an effort to cut air pollution.
People are dying.
Okay. That is bad. I mean, half the people in Holland ride bikes anyway, don't they?
That's a massive drop, though. Think of doing 130 and you're down to 100. I feel like you're doing 50. Like, you know what I mean? That sense of speed, and then you do a 2-hour trip, you've just lost.
But aren't you're on the road longer, yeah?
Oh, but that's what I mean. You're going to be on the road longer. You're going to be more tired. I don't know how beneficial that is really for noise.
I would have thought like congestion, like stop start would create more pollution, wouldn't it? In terms of distance travelled.
Well, you got to think. I mean, the car is running longer, but technically it's revving less. I don't really think a car, say, doing 2,300 RPM and 2,800 RPM, would it make that much difference to the fuel it's using? They run them pretty lean these days.
Who knows? I don't know.
That's that'll never happen here because we'll never be at 130. Actually, what am I talking about? The freeways will be 80k soon at this rate.
Half the margin, though.
Now this is another thing which I'd be shocked if it happens because it's actually some common sense. This was about pushing for speed limits to be scrapped or overtaking in Victoria. I've talked about this a lot.
Stop it off the bat. This ain't happening ever. It's way too logical.
If you're on a country road and you pull up behind someone who's doing, say, 95 and you think, hold me up, I want to do 100, what's the best way to get around them? You pull out and you just rip it, right?
What's the best way to get around them? Haven't you seen Days of Thunder?
I thought you meant the rental car scene. But this is how ridiculous it is. If you were to pull out and not exceed the speed limit, you are on the other side of the road, oncoming traffic, for, I think someone said you'd be on the...
Be a couple of kilometres, wouldn't it?
It's at least a K.
Yeah.
If you're only doing 1 or 2 Ks more than them, it takes you that long. Yet if you pull out and just rip it and cut straight back in, you might have just flicked it to 140, right? Technically, you could lose your licence. It's absolutely stupid.
If you've got a car...
The point of it should be you are on the wrong side of the road for as least possible time.
If you've got a car with some, a
little bit of grunt,
a little bit of boost, a bit of grunt, you can pull out and you can be around them in a couple of seconds.
Pretty quick, yeah.
You might go over the speed limit by, I don't know, a few Ks, but who cares? Like, it's a couple of seconds exactly, you're on the wrong side of the road.
The police should have some discretion with that, I find, on a country road. I find it completely ridiculous. What do they expect you to do? And then it's like, well, why do you have to overtake them? Well, what, so I should just sit behind people doing 80 the whole way home because they're useless drivers?
How is it safer sitting behind another car?
Yeah, I know.
Wouldn't you rather just have no one in front of you? You've got to concentrate way more when there's a car in front of you.
Oh, especially if they're going slow, and then they probably think you're tailgating them, but their speeding is so, or the speed they're doing is so up and down.
Well, a lot of people, regardless if they use cruise control, a lot of people, especially on a single lane highway, cannot keep a consistent speed. Like they hit a corner.
Why aren't they using cruise control?
Well, whatever.
Well, that's another.
Look, some cars don't have cruise control.
Oh no, but you see new cars, they're just...
Yeah, whatever, but I mean, they'll hit a corner and they'll drop 15 kilometres.
Oh, they'll hit a crest of a hill and you'll drop 30 Ks because they don't understand you've actually got to hit the accelerator a bit more.
But that's yeah, I know it's all good to read the article, but something like that in Australia is never going to happen. It's just our solution to the road toll is just insane. Huge news in terms of drag racing.
That's true.
Car Brunette's GM Pontiac has run a 5-second pass. 595 at 230 miles per hour from a 4-banger.
Hang on. According to the internet, that's a 6-second pass. You got to round that shit up.
You're right, actually. I think, unless he runs like a 5-1,
that's not a 5-second pass.
Yeah, probably not. Actually, this isn't even a record, is it? Come to think of it.
How many?
So many people have no idea about these GM Ecotec 4-cylinders. But back, you and I spent a fair bit of time in the US, nearly 20 years ago.
I bet 15 years ago, yeah.
Longer. It was actually, I think I was going to.
No, it was 15 years ago, and they had all the GM.
2003, I was.
They had a massive boom in what they called sport compact drag racing, and so because they get shafted and don't get pretty much anything out of Japan, they ended up doing all the 4-cylinder domestic stuff. So, of course, a lot of it was front-wheel drive, and that's why Hondas and other front-wheel drives became really popular. And, of course...
Yeah, but GM threw their hat in the ring, and they were pushing...
Hondas were killing it. And then GM turned up with this Ecotec setup, front-wheel drive. You could just buy it as a package, 1,100 horsepower.
You could buy a 1,000
a crate engine as set up, ready to go.
But can you imagine rocking into Holden and getting 1,000 horsepower LS engines?
They put autos in them, and it was just 8-second cars all day long out of those things.
Well, in the pro cars, front-wheel drives, they ran into the 6s, like ages ago. So this is basically the same engine.
And so this isn't some huge, big cube, like 2.8 litre or something.
And
I think Carl Brunette's engine's a 2.1.
I saw this car in Orlando late last year. There was no billet in it.
No, cast head, cast block.
That is impressive.
And so how many cast LSs have run into the 5s with twice as many cylinders?
Yeah.
It's donuts. Far out. 5-second 4-cylinder and an LS has not done that. That's correct, or are we going to get flamed?
Look, I think it's correct. I'm pretty sure the first LS into the 5s was a billet engine, yeah?
We'll probably look it up later and realise we're wrong, but
yeah, should have run a BARRA. Time for your favourite time of the week, Jordan. You can talk about your new cars.
The new Koenigsegg came out.
How do you pronounce it?
Well, they were supposed to be at the Geneva Motor Show, and of course, because of the everything's been cancelled.
COVID-19 has cleaned out the world, hasn't it? In terms of
this thing
events.
It's called a Gemera. Have I pronounced that right? This car, it has a...
It's a 4-door, yeah? A 4-seater. Sorry, it's a 4-seater with...
It's a 4-seater.
Huge going doors or something.
Yeah, single doors though. So you just... It's big enough where you can just literally hop in the back. The door looks like it's about seriously this long. The car looks incredible. I love it. It's just... It's so Koenigsegg. They do stuff so different to other manufacturers.
I had to use some steel, I read, in the door hinges.
But this thing's got a 3-cylinder. You think 3-cylinder? It's actually a 2-litre, so it's big for a 3-cylinder. The engine alone makes 600 horsepower and
3-cylinder
and 600 newton meters.
That's what you got electric on.
Revs to 8,500 RPM, and then you got.
But didn't you do something trick like?
Oh, sorry, 600 newton meters. It makes 400 newton meters at 1,700 RPM. So it doesn't. It obviously doesn't drive like a 3-cylinder.
But they did something trick with the exhaust system to make it sound. I think they spent a lot of time trying to do something with the exhaust system so it actually had some sort of note.
Yeah, he said the engine only weighs 70 kilos. And
it's about the same as a Raider.
And I think it's the first. They've had this proprietary system called Free Valve, and they've invented it years ago. And there's been heaps of videos where they had it on a test. I think it was a Saab or a Volvo or something, and they did 200,000 Ks in it. But effectively, there's no valve springs.
There's no camshafts.
Nothing.
So it effectively means you have no limitations. The camshaft has limitations at RPM. So they basically, effectively, can have any, lift, whatever they want at any RPM, but
they can electronically control that valve.
Each valve, as opposed to not like a camshaft where they're all kind of doing the same thing.
The Free Valve engine they were mucking around with years ago, it had apparently far better fuel economy and power of an equivalent same size engine with a regular cylinder head. It's actually got 3 electric motors, so it's got 1 on the crank and 2 on the rear of the car. 2 on each axle.
So how much grunt does it have all in?
All in, 1,700 horsepower and How much torque is it? 2,500 foot-pounds of torque, so that would be...
So you're talking BARRA specs here?
Yeah, BARRA specs. When you see those dyno wheel torques, so people think the BARRA makes 3,000...
My Skyline just came off the dyno and it made 13,000 torques.
It'll only go 0 to 100 in 1.9 seconds.
Yeah, but that's a lot of this is coming down to just, you know, tyres, isn't it? I mean, there's only so fast you can accelerate.
He was saying the car weighs, I think the car weighs 1,800 kilos, which sounds heavy, but he said if it was all electric, it would have weighed another 400 kilos.
Yeah, because of the battery systems.
Well, they're saying in theory it probably will. This car will go
250 mile an hour?
No, over 500 kilometres.
Oh, okay. Because I thought electric cars are always hindered a bit in the top.
Well, he was saying too. I think this is the last car where they're gonna actually try and go for these top speed runs because it's getting ridiculous, and they're probably thinking it's not actually relevant.
It's pointless. Yeah.
No one's actually going to do that speed, because they don't have the access to the Bugatti test ring, it's hard for them to even get a area where they can do these tests. If you're not doing 300, 500.
If you go off the internet, it'd be, why would you buy this? Because I mean, when you just get taken to Applebee's down at the highway.
So I see Ford have done a bit of a power increase on the 2.3, the 2.3 4-cylinder Mustang, the EcoBoost.
Oh, they've changed the name. It's not called an EcoBoost. It's called a Performance.
Oh, High Performance. That's a really awesome name.
That was a lot of thought went into that, don't you reckon? A lot of strategy and board meetings to come up with the name High Performance.
I've been earning and burning, snapping necks and cashing checks. Screw it, let's let them do it.
So they've upgraded the turbo from a Focus RS, and it's got a whopping 236 kilowatts. Kilowasps. That's a fair bit over 4. I see people ripping on it, but I personally haven't been in a 4-cylinder Mustang, but apparently they drive pretty well. Wouldn't touch one?
I mean, I drove... Sorry, I've been in the current one, the 10-speed...
5 litre.
5 litre, and I thought the transmission was quite nice, pretty seamless, but the actual Mustangs themselves, I don't know how many you've been in, but they're quite noisy. Like
you were saying...
Yeah, you get a lot of road noise and stuff in them.
The NVH is not that low.
It's nothing on a HSV. Then again, for the money, they're pretty good value, aren't they? Compared to what else is on the market, what are you going to buy?
Well, they're a lot cheaper than a V8 Mustang.
But these are like 10 grand, I think over 10 grand cheaper.
Oh, at least.
Than the V8 Mustang. What are they like, low 50s?
I think they're 51, and I think a V8 is 62 or something.
Yeah, it's about 10 grand, I think. So it's a fair saving. In all honesty, if you're buying a Mustang, if I want a Mustang to get the V8, yeah. Otherwise, if I wanted a 4-cylinder, I'd buy the Focus. The all-wheel drive Focus, personally.
Look, this is gonna get us not too happy with the fans, but I reckon those Focuses look like horseshit.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna age very well.
Especially in that baby blue colour. It just looks tacky to it. It just looks cheap. That car, especially the rear of it. It just looks like a
They're the ones with all the head gasket issues, aren't they?
Well,
they've got like an open deck block here.
They've stopped making them.
Yeah.
They don't. Do they even sell them in Australia? I think they've actually stopped.
I don't know, to be honest.
Buying one of these would be like going to a high-priced hooker and paying full price for a hug.
But you're not really paying full price, are you?
What do you mean?
Well, it's 10 grand cheaper.
Oh yeah, I refer to that comment. I know people will just rip on it and go. I reckon not. I mean, a 4-cylinder Mustang doesn't really interest me that much.
It's not a car I buy, but I guarantee
it would be way better than what people assume.
It would be okay to drive.
Be fine. How could it not go well?
And I've heard like track days. I've seen them. They're quick as. A lot of people say they're far better balanced.
They'd have way less weight over the front of the car.
Mm-hmm. But look, it depends what you're buying it for. You know, most Mustangs, the majority of Mustangs I see are stock, and people just driving them in traffic. But you want a V8, come on.
And those Ford engines sound good.
They do.
I mean, it's no LS, but
no, they sound better than LS, to be honest, I reckon.